the continuation of the video. We've just created a button that's going to export data from the order details table showing all line items for the current invoice. And so let's go now ahead to live preview, and we'll pick any invoice we want. For example, here invoice 10335, and click the export order details button, and here you can see order details for order number 10335. You can see that the Excel export has formatted this order ID as though it were a number with commas for the thousand separator. But you can see here are the line items for that given order. If I go to, say, a different order there, 10248, and export, there are line items for 10248. So you can see here that the export feature is very powerful. It lets you export data from the table or query that the grid is based on, or from some other related query over here. So let's just go back quickly one more time to this builder over here, and you'll see that when we look at this right now that we have hard-coded the filter expression to use the placeholder directly. But in actual fact, the recommended way of doing this would be to use an argument. So let's go here and define an argument called, say, what order ID, which will be numeric, and then we'll go here and we'll change our filter expression to use an argument instead of a placeholder. So there we've got what order ID, and then we can go here and specify a binding. So we want this what order ID argument to get its value from the order ID field. So by using arguments, you insulate yourself from having to know the syntax for whether the placeholder should be quoted or not quoted, or single quotes or double quotes, etc. So arguments just make it much easier to deal with different data types, time fields, date fields, etc. So this is the preferred way of specifying a filter for a custom export. So finally, let's just take a quick look at how we can use some of the events in the grid. So I'm going to go back now and put another button on that exports all the data from the grid, and I'll just do that really quickly. So let's go here and add another button, and we'll go here and we'll choose this export all the data from the grid. And now let's go to my JavaScript events, the client-side events, and before export I'll go here and define a function called before export, and then in my after export I'm going to go here and define after export. So now these two functions need to get defined in the JavaScript function declarations, and let's go ahead now and do that. So here we are in the properties section, and you can see here there's a property here called local JavaScript functions, and I'm going to go here now and define my two functions. So function before export, and then function after export. Now the before export function can actually abort the action. So if I go here and say return false, then the export will actually be aborted. So let's pause and pick it up in the next video now.